Welcome back to the program, Megan Peta Hill.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. Of course, 56 Days dropped recently on Prime, and all 8 episodes are available. And it's quite the show. The entire time I'm watching, going, no, I think I got it. No, no. And then when I got to the end, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very twisty turny and like you think you got it and then you don't. They keep pulling the rug out, which is fun.
Yeah, exactly. I heard that because it's different from the book, right?
Yes.
So I heard that you were, when you, as the scripts were coming in, you still, like, you guys didn't know. You guys were in the dark as well. And you thought you had it figured out. And you went to the producers and they were like, nah.
No, I was so sure. I was like, I'd done this whole like timeline thing. I went down the rabbit hole hard and I was like, I know who's in the tub and I know who done it and I know how and all of that. And I went to them and I laid it all out. It was like an episode of CSI. And then they were like, no.
Have
Dra-
you have you ever done that before, Megan? Like, have you like worked on a project where you start like trying to figure out the whether it's a specific mystery like this is, or just you're just trying to figure out maybe where the plot's going. Have you done this type of quote unquote investigating before?
Honestly, no, because it's usually like I work in feature films a lot, and so like you get the whole script in advance or whatever. And I've
Right.
never worked on something where and also they were trying so hard to keep it under wraps. Like even
Mm,
they had different code names for the show and all this sort of stuff. So there was sort of three names floating around. So it kind of felt like there was three projects. So the fans couldn't sort of like figure out what was going on. And so they were so tight-lipped about it. I've never worked on something that was so top secret and because there is such a fabulous surprise in there. So it's like you don't want to accidentally let the cat out of the bag too early.
yeah, of course.
No.
Now, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit. For people who haven't heard about the show and what it's all about, what is 56 Days all about?
Yeah, 56 Days is an 8-part miniseries based on the book by the same name, and it is a twisty turny whodunit. It's sort of like an erotic psychological thriller. So, yes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's told out of order, and so of course that because of that, you guys were filming more so out of order, and because the fact you weren't getting you were getting the scripts as they come out, sort of thing. So there's times where your character, you're doing stuff that's day 56, and you don't know exactly what happened in day 30. So you're like, well, how exactly does my character know what happened? For
Mhm.
you, like I'm really knowing that you guys didn't get the script, the scripts as they came out while you guys were filming. Did you know the connection between Dan Troxler and Shyla before they had their big meeting in that room and in the his office?
Yeah. Because kind of yes and no. So I had no idea what was coming. But that scene. No, the scene between the sisters where I'm like, oh my God, he's still seeing Dan Troxler. That aha moment was one of my audition scenes. So I
Oh,
Hmm.
only knew it because I read it like way back when I'd auditioned, but I didn't know all the pieces that fit together or anything. And so as you're filming, you're like, okay, I know that there's stuff that I don't know that Shiloh would need to know. And so I'm just sort of giving myself secrets just to hold as the character, whether or not
right.
they were perfectly accurate or not, just so that it felt like there was more going on because I didn't know. It's such a weird dichotomy.
Yeah, it must be both fun and exciting, but also a little terrifying as an actor, like having to play with that, having to like figure something out, but not have all the parts, just because of the way things are being done here, not sharing that with you necessarily all at the right time, like Andrew said, in different parts, like in different order. Like, what was that like for you? Like, was that like a fun but scary moment?
Yeah, it's both. It's fun and it's scary. It's fun to try and figure it out, but also scary because you're like, is this gonna work? Like when I watch it, am I gonna wish I'd known something in episode 8 while filming episode 4, so I could have like planted a little seed in my performance. Am I gonna wish I'd known some stuff? But it just came down to trusting the showrunners and trusting the directors and the writers and being like, you guys know the big picture. I'm just in charge of this one little piece of Shyla, so I'm gonna trust you guys, and it paid off. I think it really.
Yeah, totally. Now Shyla, she's tough. She's tough. She gets down and dirty. Oddly enough, though, is kind of the more saner voice of reason in this situation. So a lot of juxtaposition with the character. But like I gotta admit, like I started watching the show when I knew we were gonna do the interview with you. And I'm watching the first few episodes and I'm like, okay, she's on the phone again. Okay, it's her on the phone again. And I'm like, oh no, did Megan have to do all these performances by herself? Does she get to actually have scenes with people? And then eventually they started happening. I'm like, oh, thank God. Because that's tough if you have to just continually do phone scene after phone scene.
Phone scenes are hard, man.
Yeah.
They're so hard because you're by yourself. The other actor's not even there. They're in their hotel or have the day off or whatever. So you're by yourself. And so you're kind of having to imagine what their performance is going to be, even though you've got no idea, and hoping that the two are going to cut together because you're not even having the conversation together. And that it's usually either the first AD or the script supervisor that's standing beside the camera, just like reading the other lines, like totally monotone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh
It-
man.
that's I would be wanting. I'm like, can you just somebody get on the phone with me?
Get on the
Because
phone.
because
Yeah.
because I always like to refer to it as cup acting, which is
Yeah.
like so many times on a cop show on TV, especially
Oh,
movies
yeah. Where
too.
they're holding it like this as
Yeah,
opposed to.
and the cup is just jiggly jaggly because it's either empty or has very little fluid in it.
Yeah.
Um, phones are the same way.
Uh-huh.
I've noticed actors on phones, and it's like I'm like I don't talk on a phone like that, and I'm just like it as an actor. Like you've got your skills, you have the tools of the trade, as it were, for that you've developed over the years. But there's always going to be these weird little things like talk, which you wouldn't think about, but like talking on a phone can be super weird when it's not real.
Yeah, and even like the mechanics of it. Like if I'm on the phone at home, we kind of like I do this like look down thing. I'm always like looking at the floor or whatever. Well, that's not great for the camera. And no one can see,
Yeah.
you know. That's not great. So that part of it, but also I found because I know what you mean by the cup thing. You're like, there's nothing in there, or like there's no way that's hot. But with the phone thing, I've sort of started adding like it's hard to hear. And then that
Mm.
way it forces me to have to be more present with this thing I'm talking into, and that
Right.
seems to help. But yeah, it's not easy. Phone scenes are the worst.
Well, that's the
Oh
thing. Like I'm watching it and I know that you have to act alone, but I will say it did look like somebody talking on a phone. So you accomplished it. It did feel
yeah,
like a real phone call. So they,
Thank you.
yeah, no, for sure. Like I only bring it up because it's always something I find interesting about acting is like you have to, and it's a far cry from like say like a superhero movie or a horror movie where you have a monster and there's like a ball
you
on a
got to
stick.
imagine everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
that's different. Whereas this, like you'd think, oh, it's a physical item, which is great. It's grounded. You touch it, but you've got
Yeah.
to do this thing. Because like when you're describing talking on the phone and like looking down, I'm thinking about me when I talk to Andrew sometimes and other people. I'm usually like on my couch or in my chair. I have it on speakerphone. It's on my chest, and I'm just kind of like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know,
That would
like
be an interesting, choice if they did that with 56 days where every time you just have to be lying backwards on like a picnic table or something. Yeah.
Well, that's actually really funny because one of my scenes, I'm literally like laying on a park bench essentially on the phone. And I don't know, there was something about that scene. It's such an important moment for Shyla. And so actually, because I was staying in Montreal while we were filming, and I called my girlfriend. I was like, would you run this scene with me? Like, would you just help me like run it before I go shoot it? I'm gonna go find a park bench near a farmer's market. Can you just call me like as if you really are my sister and we'll just run it like that? And it really helped to actually rehearse
nice.
it to actually talking to someone because like it's hard, man.
That's good. There's a one phone conversation as well that starts, you get the call, like Shyla gets the call while she's, making out with a guy in her truck, as one does. But I just love the fact that it's like when the guy's like, forget it, leave it. And like, I'm sitting there watching, it's like, no, you don't know what's going on. She's got to answer that phone.
You got to get that call, yeah. Oh man, that scene is so funny because we were trying to justify like why they're making out in the front of the truck, like on the side of the road. And so we're like, oh, emergency sex? Like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it happens. So sometimes, you just gotta, in case of emergency, break glass. That's what it comes down to. There
That's
you
right.
go.
Yeah.
Now, you did get to do, of course, some of your bigger scenes with Dove Cameron. Of course,
Mhm.
Dove Cameron has been acting since she was like, I feel like 7 or something like that. Very young. So,
Yeah.
what was it like building the sisterly dynamic with Dove?
Oh my gosh, it was so easy. We met at the first table read, and the director introduced us, and she was like, Dove, you have to meet Megan. Like, you guys are so like sisters, and I can't believe it. And it was just like instant kismet. She's so sweet, and she's such a force of nature. And I don't know, we just bonded. Like, we were doing rehearsals before we even started filming, and it was just, I don't know, long lost sisters. It was really easy.
Yeah, it must make it easy, like coming onto a set, because the nomadic lifestyle that is an actor, you don't get to work at a place for 20 years and know everybody, and you're
Yeah.
just coming in for your, 30, 40 days, maybe sometimes 2 days, depending on the type of shoot it is.
Hmm.
Having that kind of like instant chemistry, did you really feel that helped as you guys were processing, and compared to say like other projects you've worked on?
Yeah, absolutely. It really helps when there's just a natural chemistry. It's not always there. You might want it to be, and you can't really force something like that. But I always feel, especially like that the makeout scene in the truck, and I'm like, this poor actor has come in for a day, and it has to feel like we've been seeing each other for weeks or whatever, and he's just like in and out, and it can be really hard. But was really lucky with Dove. Like it was so easy. We'd really fun sort of fiery chemistry in those spicy scenes between the sisters. Like she's so fun to like go there with, she kind of didn't hold back. And so I was like, great, neither will I. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, no, definitely. Well, you definitely feel it when you're watching it with you guys. Now, as I mentioned, Shyla's a tough one. So of course she's riddled with tats. She got tons of tats, and you got, of course, most of those were fake. You do have one tattoo, and I heard that the crew was trying to guess which one was real. Did anybody get it right?
No, everyone thought it was like the big scorpion on Shiloh's forearm. And don't get me wrong, I'm tempted. It's a very cool tattoo. But no, but also the one that I have that's real is so small that I just wrapped a movie last night, and on my first day they're like, oh, any tattoos we have to cover. I was like, yeah, I've got this one. And the guy looked at it and he was like, that doesn't count. So I don't think anybody had a chance of guessing the real one. They probably never even saw
There you
it.
go. They might have thought it was a freckle. Who knows? There you go.
I'm just imagining you rolling in now with a full like scorpion sleeve, like yeah,
Right?
like because
Badass.
yeah, because that like as cool as that is to see it and and have it in your real life, but I can just imagine like the poor makeup people when you come in, you're like going, is there anything you need, like you said, like any tattoos? Yeah, I got this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you could
like
cover
Just
this up, that'd be
yeah,
great. Yeah. They're like, okay, we're just gonna get you a bigger shirt.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna do there.
long sleeves, the whole show.
Long sleeves, the whole show.
that's
Exactly.
right. Jacket
Yeah,
forever. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. Now you mentioned you just wrapped up last night filming. So you were filming Remnant with Kim
Hmm.
Coates, a
Correct.
horror film. Like you've gone back and forth into horror. What is it about the horror genre that you like?
It's so fun. It's so fun. I'm a big fraidy cat when I don't love watching horror movies because I have such a strong imagination for my job that I'm not like, ooh, a little scare. I'm like, no, holy shit, that's actually happening. But when you're actually making them, it's so fun, especially when you're using practical effects. And so there's a number of fire stunts in Remnant, and they're all practical. So doing those was terrifying and so fun. After the fact when it's done and everyone's safe and it all worked and you're like, that was awesome. Yeah, I got to do one just last week where I'm basically, it's not a spoiler, I'm holding this thing that's on fire and I'm just literally in real life standing there holding it. And I bet when you watch it, well, hopefully you can't tell, but all I'm thinking is like, please don't catch my hair on fire. Please don't catch my hair on fire.
So which is more harder to do? Like, take because fire's intense. Which is more intense, fire or Kim Coates' eyes? Because Kim's got the most intense eyes. I interviewed him once, and the entire time I was like, he's seeing into my soul.
Oh,
So-
it's like he lives in a different plane of existence. He's got this most intense energy, like so lovely. But gosh, you're like, I'm in a room with like a creature from another planet. He's just so intensely like mesmerizing, and he's got this really deep voice. And I don't know, you walk in the room, you're like, Kim Coates is here. Like everyone's like,
it,
oh my gosh. Yeah, he's
it's
really
so
cool.
it's so true. I watched. I was there when Andrew
yeah.
interviewed him, and it was like it was like in like an anime and stuff like that. And in some movies, they show like that the vibrations coming off of a character like that. It like shimmered off of him. Like it was
There's
like
a
the
definite presence.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
there's this aura around him that is just you just it's like
Yeah.
it's just a hum. It's crazy. Like it,
But
it
thankfully, such a nice guy.
oh no,
So it's a
Yes.
that's
good,
yeah.
yeah, so it's a good like counterbalance.
No,
He uses his superpowers for good. Yes.
yeah, that's what
Yes,
I mean. Like,
yes.
yeah, sure, there's evil people out there, bad people, whatever. But like,
But
no,
we got
Kim,
Kim Coates in the world.
yeah,
That's
he
good.
just he vibrates on that like whatever those like those like I don't know chakra energies or whatever. It just makes you just
Yeah.
like yeah, man, right on, like cool. No,
Exactly.
and yet I see him do awful things on screen sometimes, and I'm
Yeah.
just like. I just would really like to hang out and have a beer, like and then he
Oh,
murders a person, and I'm like, going, I still want that beer.
I'm
Yeah.
still down to hang out, man. It's like,
You know,
so I went shark cage diving one time, and when you're on the boat and you're looking down and seeing all the sharks, it's terrifying. You're like, oh my God, they're gonna
no
eat me.
shit.
Awful. But then you get in the cage and you go underwater and they're so serene. And like the
Mm.
slightest movement and this giant deadly thing could just like do whatever it wants, but it's just floating and it was so beautiful. And I'm like, that's kind of like Kim Coates. Like he's got all this power and all this magnetism, but like he's just floating, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's so lovely.
Yeah, that's no, that's very sweet. That's a very nice way to look at that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Kim Coates always good in our book. Definitely. Now, of course, so you got that project coming out, but you've also got another project that was a labor of love for you that was more than just acting. It was your first time co-directing, first time co-producing, first time co-writing. You starred in it. The short film Echo, which is currently doing the festival circuit. I know you guys just did Whistler. For people who haven't heard about that, what is that movie about?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Echo. It's definitely like I don't know, a love letter to I don't know, anyone who's ever struggled with an eating disorder or loved someone through one. It's about a young woman called Lana who is in her early 20s. She's struggling with anorexia and she finds out that she's pregnant. And so it's sort of this inner conflict of I've got this thing inside me that's slowly trying to take my life away, and I've got this thing inside me that's a new life and it's growing. And yeah, we wanted to tell a story that really accurately portrays what it's like to live with an eating disorder and what it's like to try to love someone through one. And we were sort of warned when we'd written our first draft of Echo, that we might not get into many festivals if we kept the ending the way that we did, because we don't have a happy ending. We don't solve the problem at the end of the 14 minutes. But we're like, but that's not what it is. It's not, oh, I called a clinic and I went and got treatment and now I'm all better. Well, actually, no, it can be lifelong for so many people. And it's such a difficult and tricky thing to navigate because it's sort of, it's an illness, but it's an addiction, but it's control, but it's trauma, but it's all these things. And to try and treat it is really, really difficult. And so we just wanted to tell a really sort of honest and, true portrayal of what it's like for the person suffering and the person who loves them through it. And, yeah, so it's a labor of love for sure. And so it's the short film is doing the festival circuit, like you said. It's our calling card for a feature film that we're writing right now, sort of like the expanded version. And yeah, so we'll see where it goes.
Mm.
What was that experience like for you? Like, because as an actor, you're in front of the camera, and you have that version of the experience, but now on like in this, you're on the other side as well, and you're getting to see it from that side of things. What was that like for you to kind of like, oh, okay, maybe it isn't like, because sometimes actors will take it personally or not, like that depends. And but now you're seeing it's like, oh, this decision actually has this level orders of effects on costs and production. And you can't just
Yeah,
run extra scenes and do extra lines just how willy-nilly.
that's
What
right.
what was that experience like, learning some of that stuff?
Yeah, I can't express how important it was to learn those things from that side. I've always wanted to direct. I always sort of felt that like that was where I would go sort of later in my career. This felt like the right project to sort of, really go for it. But you realize casting isn't personal at all. You don't get the job. It's not because you weren't the best person. Like there were other, because we were trying to cast two sisters and a mother. And so they had to all sort of look familial and have the right sort of chemistry. And trying to even just do that was like impossible. And you start to realize like, as much as we had this dream scenario because the bathroom plays a large role in the film, like a lot of the film is set inside the bathroom. And we had this like crazy idea of like, what if we did a set build and then we could change like the dimensions of the bathroom depending on where she's at with her eating disorder. And like, so now the room feels bigger and more spacious and more warm. And then these moments where it feels like the walls are closing in, we could actually close the walls in. And we had these big ideas. And then you're like, we've got 20 grand. We're not doing a set build.
Save it for the feature, kids. There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, well, that's, you got a bunch of great people working on this with you. And I heard that the production design really got like incremental on like the bag of chips had like
Yeah.
derogatory comments that the character would be feeling. Same thing with like the Coke and stuff like that. For seeing all this stuff as a director, of course, that's amazing. Oh, this is amazing. This adds production value. This is great. But as an actor, it must also be great to be like, oh, this is what my character's seeing.
Yeah, I don't have to try to imagine what this character is thinking when she's looking at this bag of chips or this whatever. It's literally on the packet because we're trying to sort of, for people who have never experienced it, eating disorder, to try and like break through some of those boundaries and go like, this is what it's like. And so we have this, we were a little bit adventurous. We were like, let's do a 3.5 minute oneer. And we went for it. It worked. It worked. We got it. But of basically where we're sort of hearing all of her internal thoughts through sound design as she's walking through this party and there's all this food and people making comments on her body and all this sort of stuff. And it was wonderful to have all of that already as part of the script. So it didn't have to sort of, as because I ended up playing Lana, I never had to do that sort of part of the work. It was already all there on the page because we'd written it that way. And yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, no, that totally answers my question. But also, you kind of left out something about that 3.5 minute oneer is that was your starting shot. You started with the hardest shot for your directorial debut. I would have been like, hey, I got like 3 days to work on this. Let's do this day two so I can get my
I
bearings.
know it was the first thing we attempted. We had like, I don't know, 20 or 30 background performers. It's the first time any of like we've got everyone together working together for the first time. And we really only had a window of about 15 minutes to get this shot because we were trying to get it right as the sun was setting. So we got this beautiful light coming through the windows and all this. And we are also trying to match like the rest of the day that we were going to film, and so we really only got a couple of shots at it. So we did a few rehearsals, but our poor camera operator, Zoe, she's like, she's got the whole rig and she's walking up a hill, into the house, around the house, up a flight of stairs. And so she needed breaks in between. And it was just so much to try and get. And I don't know how we got it, but we got it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
the
but I
oneer
gotta
is
imagine,
stressful. The
yeah,
oneer is stressful.
but I gotta imagine getting it, like, to Andrew's point, getting it done and early out of the way. You kind of go, oh, this is cake. The rest of this is cake.
Yeah.
Like, as all productions are super easy, obviously. Like, yeah, right. Like, no big deal,
Yeah,
right?
especially when you're like super low budget and just
Yeah,
like, get it done. Yeah, yeah, it's really
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But having that out of the, was there a part of you that kind of was like, oh, okay, like, I've got this. This is like, I've tackled the biggest part of the hill, and now it's all downhill. Like, it's just an
Yeah.
easy ride down. Like, did you kind of internally feel that?
Yes, definitely. And also it kind of, I think up until then it was all just fear that was
Mm.
driving us. Oh my God, is this actually going to work? Are we going to get it? And then being able to watch playback and seeing it and going, oh my God, this actually, it not only did it work, it also looks exactly how we dreamed it would. And what are the chances? And then we got really excited and it just sort of like lit the fire to then get through the next 2 days of chaos, crazy and chaos. So yeah, it was very cool to see it all come together and be like, oh, we did the thing that we dreamed of. It was really cool.
That
Yeah.
is amazing. Now you
And I
mentioned you
I
had
just
like,
I just want to say quickly, I just think you've got a new name for all film and television
oh,
production.
Kraos, yeah.
Chaos is it. Like seriously, crazy and chaos. It's the perfect name. I'm not gonna lie. That's the perfect portmanteau. Is there it is. It's chaos.
It's
There you go.
chaos, you guys.
Definitely Kraos, my
You
God.
just need to come rolling in with t-shirts. You just like, oh, what's chaos? This whole thing.
This
Everything.
whole
You're
thing,
living in it right now.
the
We're in
whole
Kraos.
industry is chaos.
Technically, you can use that to explain what's happening in the world
Well, yeah.
in any
There you go.
situation. That we're in
There you
total chaos right now.
So I've
Totally.
gifted the word to the world. You're all
There
welcome.
you go. There
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go. Webster's, you better be listening. There we
Yeah.
go. But you mentioned you did it. You did this short on 20 grand,
Hmm.
and a lot of stuff you had to put together. Again, you had great people working on it, but you did a bunch of work to make sure that everybody on set was comfortable, felt safe, and could deal with what you guys were doing. Was that like when you guys sat down? Was that like this is one of the most important things we want to do? We're dealing with serious, material, and we get have all these people working with us. We want to make sure that everybody feels right on set.
Yeah, it was really, really important to us because the last thing in the world we wanted to do was create a situation where we're trying to make this film so we can help people. So we can like talk about this thing, get it out of the shadows and talk about it. And the last thing we wanted was for us actually making it to trigger somebody or to cause something in somebody. So it was if that was going to happen, then we didn't want to make it. And so we had a lot of conversations because we were low budget, a lot of the people who ended up working on the film were taking a lower rate, but they just believed in the project and believed in the story, or they had a personal connection. And so we wanted to make sure that there were those guardrails so that everybody felt safe and that anybody could tap out if they needed to. And so we had this crazy idea of, okay, what if we, in the same way that we now have intimacy coordinators, what if we had a person on set who was like an on-set therapist, where if someone got triggered, if something happened, that there was somebody there who had been there from like the very beginning, who could just take you away to a safe space and just do something with you, talk to you, do some breathing stuff, whatever it was, whatever you needed. And just knowing that it was there, sort of again kind of like an intimacy coordinator, then let you know, well, I can sort of emotionally go there if I need to play Lana or to play her sister or whatever, knowing that there was like a safety net in a way. And we also instilled things like no comments in the crafty room, no comments about bodies, like none of that. We don't need that on this set. Like, because people say things and they don't realize that, oh, it might mean a compliment in my mind, but it might hurt somebody else. Or and we just wanted to go, what if we tried something different? What if we ran our set in a different way, and could that actually work? And it did. And we had people on the last day come and say like, I've never been on a set like this where everyone's just so respectful and there's no, not that sets are disrespectful, but there was just like an extra level of care and yeah, I don't know. It was cool to go, oh, it worked. And we can make films this way. In the same way that it's like, oh, we can have intimacy coordinators. And it can actually like free up some of those intimacy scenes because I know where your boundary is, you know where mine is. So now we can like kind of go there in other ways where we know each other is safe. And now that sort of frees it up in a weird way. So yeah, it was very cool.
That's awesome.
That's yeah, that does sound awesome. Until you mention it, because like even intimacy coordinators is a relatively
New
newish
thing.
invention in film and television. But this actually, like as you said it, I was like, no, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, because you don't know who on your cast and crew could have experiences that could be triggered from some of the material that you're dealing with, and it may not even be the same thing. It may not even
Mhm.
be the same like actual event. It's just something else. We don't know these things because it's
Exactly.
invisible diseases are tough, and like doing a film like this and talking about something that I remember as a child it being talked about, and the fact that, as you said, like bringing more notice to it. If we're in 2026 and we still have to talk, like think about talking about these things more openly and like and honestly, like blows my mind that after
Yeah.
all these years, it's still in this place. Like we don't seem to be progressing far enough.
Yeah, it's still so stigmatized and feels like you can't talk about it. And it feels like one of the last frontiers in terms of sort of mental illnesses that we're not really talking about. And we feel we have to sort of tiptoe around and there's still so much stigma. And so that's why we wanted to make this film. And so hopefully it is easier for people to talk about. And I think it's really difficult for people, no matter what it is that you're dealing with, if it's misrepresented in film and you're watching it and you're like, that's not what it's like. That's not the experience. And now it actually makes me feel more isolated and more like alone while I'm dealing with this thing. So we kind of wanted to go, let's do this right. Let's have people actually, feel like they're being reflected back at them. And so we did interviews with people who have personal experience who wanted to share their stories with us, and we did questionnaires and of people who were partners or parents or siblings of people, and the stories were heartbreaking. And you hear these, and then in the process of the last sort of 18 months since the inception of it, having friends come and who I've been friends with forever and tell me their stories, and I had no idea. Or a friend of mine came and talked to me, and he was like, my sister passed away from anorexia. I had no idea. And
Wow.
it's everywhere. And because it's one of, sort of the last frontiers of things we just don't talk about, it still hides and it still manifests and it grows and it's awful. So
Yeah, no, definitely. My gosh. Well, now I look forward to people getting to see Echo when it goes through the festival circuit and then eventually, finds its home wherever it finds it. But
mm,
before we wrap up, just to go back to 56 Days for 1 second, your
yeah.
character's wardrobe, you got to wear your beat up Converse for the shoot. And because of that, you got a free pair of new Converse out of it. You're a self-described Converse girl. How
Yeah.
many pairs of Converse do you have?
I have a number. I have a number of different colors.
Yeah.
You just need different colors for different outfits, you guys. And you know what? Okay, I love that you did your research and you know this Converse story because the story actually continued.
Ooh.
Turns out the film I just wrapped, similar thing happened. And my new Converse that I got from 56 Days are now in this movie Remnant and they beat them up. So those shoes are now in
So that's gonna be your thing going forward. It's got to be in the contract. It's like new pair of Converse. You can use mine in the movie. Just get me a new pair.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter. You could be like a high society, businesswoman, big fancy suits, the whole thing. I got to have
Yep,
at least one scene. I'm rocking the All
She could
Stars.
get a scene in
that's right.
Bridgerton and still find a way to work
Yeah.
in the car.
That would be amazing.
That's hilarious. No, I don't need the red M&Ms in my trailer. I gotta wear my beat up Converse. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, then I gotta tack on because I used to when I was younger I used to wear Converse all the time. That was my thing too.
Yeah.
My Chuck Taylor All Stars. I went back and forth, and I always went with like a crazy color. That's how I liked it. But I'm curious because you said you have colors, outfits. I get all that. Do you have a particular style? Do you like, is it high cut, low cut? Like, what do you like to rock?
Oh yeah, it's the high tops for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got this lavender pair that is currently my favorite. Yeah.
All righty. Well, there you
Nice.
go.
But it's high tops all the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice. Have you ever done a mixed batch? Like you do like one color, one shoe, and one the other?
No, but I do sometimes draw on mine because I'm
Um,
12 years old apparently, and I like
try doing the mixed color thing. I did it when I was in high school. I did a one green one, one purple one, and that was a conversation starter.
I bet.
Like
I
it didn't
bet.
matter where I was. I could have been at the mall. I could have been in a restaurant. Somebody's like, "What's going on with your shoes? Did you
They're
lose one?"
awesome, is what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, my only complaint ever about All Stars was always because I was rough on shoes. I would rip on the inside. I would end up ripping the back of it because of the way that I take them on and off. It just
Right.
and then it would become uncomfortable. So I'd be wearing through them so quickly, and then you get that little crease on the side where it rips open, where your foot bends, and like
Okay, so now we got to get Green into movies where he can wear crappy Converse and get new Converse out of the deal. That's what we've learned here today.
I
Megan,
love that it's catching on, you
yeah,
guys.
it's
yeah, yeah,
catching on. It is. Well, Megan, I want to thank you for talking with us today. Of course, all 8 episodes of 56 Days are available on Prime, so people can go check it out. Thank you so much. Looking forward to all your upcoming projects, and look forward to talking to you again when they come out.
Thank you so much for having me again. Love it to talk with you both. I appreciate it.